Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubha. Welcome to the show. Welcome to today's study of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's the Srimad Bhagavatam that we turned into a show.
Yeah, I was gonna say study, using that term.
I like our daily study. I like calling it a show. I always wanted to have my own show.
Well, you got one now.
We got a show. I really pushed like show from the beginning. I don't know if you picked up on that. Do you remember, Mara? We used to say, yeah, Mara's like, yes, you did. You wanted the show.
Well, I think you got, I remember when we first launched it and when we were in the Eco Village, and then, like Raghunath Swami said, oh, yes, and I saw the show. And you're like, he said show. Like that was like.
Said the show.
I called it the show.
My kids say the show. Are you doing the show? Are you doing the show? It's a show.
That's what I'm saying.
I had the showman skill award in Weeblos. Were you a Boy Scout, Cub Scout?
No.
Weeblo,
No.
Kaustubha?
No. I don't even know what a Weeblo is.
Weeblo it's a weird acronym, but it was somewhere in between Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts.
Okay. Sounds like it may have been appropriate. But in any case, I don't.
But I was a Boy Scout. If you were a Boy Scout and you're on Zoom, put it up on the board right now, please. I'm curious. And I'm representing my Dead President's Lounge hoodie today, which Mara doesn't like, but I will say I love it, and it makes me feel 15 years younger.
No. It doesn't make you look 15 years younger. It makes you look like one of those guys wandering around out in the woods.
No, it doesn't. No,
yes,
it's
that's like it's camouflage.
It's country, yeah, I know. It's like upstate New York hunter look, but it's also like, oh, he's crazy. He's cool. He's got the latest
Are you sure about
outfits on.
Crazy, maybe. Cool.
I become a 56-year-old man who dresses much younger than I should. I should have a much more age-appropriate attire.
I'm not even sure if that's younger.
Nancy Rothman, how old are you? Dress me up. Dress me up. I need to look age-appropriate.
All right.
Hardcore keeps you young, I think. That's what it is. The hardcore music scene keeps you young.
Okay.
Oh, look, everybody was a Boy Scout.
Raghunath, we need a little focus today, okay? Mara, do we have any announcements?
Karuna doesn't even know what a Boy Scout is. What are they not teaching you in Lebanon? Get her mom on the phone. Okay.
Nancy says that you don't need to redo your wardrobe, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah,
Nancy.
we accept you as you are, Raghunath.
Yeah.
We just want you to have a realistic understanding of what you look like, though. That's all. But we love you either way.
They're laughing at me, Nancy. Help. All right. What's the latest? Guess what? We have a great guest. We have a great guest for Sunday.
Yeah.
Malati Devi. Malati Devi, one of those old school original devotees. We get these classic devotees on the show. These people are just like wandering around the streets and met Prabhupada and became like traveled with him intimately and went to live with John Lennon and George Harrison. I mean, these guys have such stories.
And Prabhupada.
And Yeah, and they, so she's
You know,
probably in her 70s now.
I'm not going to mention it now, but Prabhupada said something about her once to me. It was just like the ultimate, like, she could have just died right there. Like life was perfect. But I'll bring it up when we interview her.
Okay, all right, good. Maybe you should take that interview by the horns.
I thought that was you. Anyway, let's figure that out.
You're better at interviewing people than me, I think.
Not necessarily, Raghunath. It's just
I just talk to them. You're like a professional interviewer.
Okay.
And so what you mean by that is this.
Okay. Well, how about this? For interviewing, Mara, do you have any announcements today?
Yes, I do have some announcements. Thank you.
Okay.
We have a Bhakti recovery group meeting at 1:00 today. And then tomorrow is our Q&A day. So if people have questions, they can write to us at wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com.
All right.
We should do a recovery retreat at Super Soul Farm.
Well, I think Jiva has been asking you about that, right?
And I never
But
replied.
like,
I never replied to Jiva. You know that.
Yeah, she's trying to like rope you in. Yeah, get back to Jiva.
I haven't seen Jiva or
Nancy
Saretsky lately. Where are they? See, if you're not on the if
Jiva
you're not
told me
on
that she
Zoom and I
wasn't
don't
gonna be
see
around
you,
for a little while. She's
keep
doing
that
some kind
list.
of. Jiva's doing some kind of healing thing or something like that. I forget.
Sound bowls.
No, not like that. Okay. Anyway.
By the way, I'm completely into sound bowls now.
Okay.
I had when we were in Nepal, we had these sound bowl demonstrations. I tell you, I was gonna I left my body. It's really. They put me in a I kid you not. They put me in a gigantic, almost like a gigantic salad bowl, and just kept on. So I'm standing in the bowl. And I kept
in the bowl,
hitting that gong. I felt like I left my body.
Was it towards the end of the day or early in the day?
No, it was like a regular 10 o'clock in the morning. Get in your sound bowl. We're gonna hit you with a mallet. It was very powerful. Remember, Mara?
Yeah, I do remember.
Yeah.
Although you weren't feeling so well later that day, and I wondered if that was the after effects of the bowl.
Yeah, it could have had some cathartic pain. I could have been having a panic attack. One of my new panic attacks I've been having. I don't know. I had a bad bowl. Okay.
In any case,
let's get on with this, guys.
There we go. Let's begin with the nugget.
Oh, have I got a nugget for you, my friend? You're going to think this is right out of the Bhagavatam, but it is from the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Mara, look up the Tibetan Book of the Dead and give us some info on it, please, while I'm reading this.
I know what the Tibetan Book of the Dead is about. I've never read it, though. Did you read it? It seems like the kind of thing you would have read.
I glanced through it. I didn't fully read it.
You didn't connect?
If you want the God honest truth.
Back in your seeking days?
In my seeking days, yeah. When I was on a quest.
It's about, like, from what I understand, it's a book about, like, it's a Buddhist book about, like, the period when you die. Like, there's a couple weeks. There's a little time there in between, like, your death in one body and you're taking on the next body. And you can help people in that state. And this book helps you help people in that state. I think it's like that.
Oh, really?
Is that right, Mara?
Yeah, I think so. It's intended to guide one through the experiences that the consciousness has after death, the interval between death and the next rebirth.
Wow.
Yeah.
Imagine if you had passed away, Raghunath, and we were working with you, like with the Tibetan Book of the Dead.
Maybe that's how I took birth here.
Anything's possible. So let's hear it. And it was written by Padmasambhava, the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Hit it.
Hit it. Ready?
Yeah.
Oh, you, with your mind far away, thinking that death.
Was that the tone in which this Buddhist monk said it?
Yes, he did. I've got a recording of it. I've got it on Audible. Okay. Oh, you, with your mind far away, thinking that death will not come, entranced by the pointless activities of this life. Like that. That's a great line. Entranced by the pointless activities of this life. If you were to return empty-handed now, would not your life's purpose have been utterly confused? Recognize what it is that you truly need. It is a sacred teaching for liberation. So should you not practice this divine sacred teaching beginning from this very moment? Like, come on. That's basically what the whole thing says. Like, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, Gopal Chandra were having dinner together yesterday, you know, and he's going through all this stuff, and he's just like, yeah, even though I know I'm cancer, I'm going through all this stuff. It's like still the mind wants to wander into, like, how can I
Pointless
just
stuff.
pointless stuff. I'm hanging out with Gopal Chandra. The guy's got deep realizations.
I bet. That's great that you two are spending time.
Yeah. I think we might have a kirtan with him or something.
Oh yeah. So I like the way that he says, if you were to return empty-handed now, like in other words, at the time of death, right? Like it's like you go through all of life. What did you collect? You know, like what did you gain? If it doesn't matter what you gain materially, you're empty-handed, right? So what are we? You know, what kind of realization? You know, what kind of depth of realization will we have at that moment, or will we be standing there empty-handed? So recognize what you need. Yeah.
This entire lifetime of mine, it's like a box of photos. It's just like a box of photos.
You're saying the material side of life.
Well, no, you know, I'm going through all my crap right now. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I'm going through all my crap. When I say all my crap, figuratively and literally, I'm just like going through the things, boxes of things I have. Literally going through my crap. And I'm finding
Let's keep it on the figurative.
Photo albums. I'm finding old photo albums. I'm just going through them, and it's just like different incarnations of myself. Oh, this is when I was a monk. Oh, this is before I was a monk. This is when I was a teenager. This is when I was with this girl. This is when I was married. And this is when the children were born. And this is when I went on this cool vacation and did this cool thing. And this is when I did this other cool thing. This is when I traveled here. And this is when I was like sick and I had a broken leg. And it was just like it's just like my whole life is just like, and in retrospect, it's like nice, but it's all sort of like, it's like a firework that happened.
Yeah.
You know, you were at the 4th of July, a big, beautiful firework happened, and it's over. And that's sort of like looking at a box of photos. Look at all the things I did and where I went, and here I am, and what do I have? And they're pointing us towards, right? They're pointing us towards what is actually valuable that you have. What is really valuable?
Yeah, it's like take one photograph, right? Now you look at that photograph, and it's capturing an image of a particular moment. And where's that moment? Well, currently it exists in the form of that photograph, at least some connection to it, and it exists in your memory and in the memory of one or two other people, right?
That's it. Yeah.
And then in a short amount of time, that photograph will be gone. Now it doesn't exist there anymore, right?
Yeah, when I die, it'll just be
and
dumped
then,
in a dumpster.
Well, yeah, or it may be gone before then. But so what I'm saying is, you know, we could that moment we could narrow down to any connection to it. What to speak of the moment itself being gone, but even any connection to that moment exists in that photograph and in a few memories, few memory banks. And it's just a matter of time before the photograph's gone, and then it's gone within those memory banks too, and then there's nothing left of it. It's entirely gone. Right?
Yeah. I've been.
That's what our life is. It just all disappears.
It all disappears.
It all blows away.
And look,
Yeah.
you know, and I think also because I think also because I'm just like doing a lot of reflecting lately, and I'm looking back, and I was in a long marriage. It was like an 18-year marriage, and then before that, I had a girlfriend for 10 years, and we never locked things up, had kids or anything like that, or got married. It was just sort of like, did I just waste my entire life? That's 38 years or 28 years. It was like, is that my entire? And so I think when you look at boxes of photos, when you reflect at the things that should have been but never manifested, you start to wonder, like, oh, I get it. That was the life. It's like, how many do-overs do you get? You're already old now. Now you're old. And it's just like, it was truthfully, it's been sort of very, very confronting. But I think that, thank God for Bhakti, because whatever the hell happened, it got me right here to a whole screen of people listening to the Bhagavatam right now, and me very eagerly wanting to read the Bhagavatam, despite my squirreling around. I enjoy reading the Bhagavatam, but you know, even with material failure, you know, I can honestly say it's like I feel like I failed family life, But
No, I
I
think
feel
that,
like
that's you're being too heavy on yourself. But
well, if family actually means something,
yeah,
and I didn't do and whatever happened didn't happen, then that in one sense it's a failure. So
Well,
anyway, whatever you want to name it, here
no,
I
no,
am.
I'm saying
listening to
there's a lot of
Bhagavatam.
success there too. So let's not forget
Thank
that.
you. Well, thank you. But anyway, I feel like at least today, this whatever we got in the past, if it's bringing us to reading the Bhagavatam today, the past was actually perfect.
There you go.
That's where I'm at. That's where I'm
Okay.
at. I'm not trying to create a pity party at all. I'm
Right.
very, very happy. I feel like more Krishna conscious today than I've ever been.
Yeah, in one sense, the past is always perfect. It's just a question of how we interpret it, right? It's not necessarily what we did was perfect, but in other words, you know, whether it's pleasure or pain that we experienced, it's perfect for our realization, right? No?
No, I'm just drinking it. I'm just drinking it up.
All right.
No, well, when we understand there's a benevolent, loving hand behind everything.
Oh, and you know where we ought to go?
That's leading us towards God.
Okay.
Then it is perfect. If we understand what the main thing is, then it is perfect. If we think like, no, life was supposed to turn out like this, and we have certain material expectations, get ready to be let down. Mm-hmm. Because even the ones that work out perfectly, hey, there's death. There's, someone has to die first. You know, someone has to age. Someone's got to get chronic. Even if there is like the perfect family life, how perfect is perfect in the material world? In a temporary, how can you have like perfection in a temporary world?
I'm with you. So let's get into that Bhagavatam.
All right. Good morning, everybody. I hope that wasn't a downer intro.
No. And we were reading from the Tibetan Book of the Dead, so.
Yeah, I'm going to blame that on you. That was your pick.
That was good.
It is. It's very sobering. This is what we have this show for. It's not entertainment, people. It's sobering thoughts.
Well, like he said, it was
with
like
entertainment twisted in.
Recognize that what you truly need is a sacred teaching for liberation.
Yeah.
All right, so let's hear some. That's your cue, Raghu. That's
even the Pandavas died. Even the Pandavas, remember walking up to Badrinath in the Himalayas? If you read the Mahabharata, one by one, they started to die. Even the ones you felt like they'll never die. Even the Pandavas died.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshu badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama sloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated in loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Madatam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Well, this is weird. Sonny the cat wrote me a private message. Just when we thought like there's something up with that cat, Sonny the cat gave me a keep your chin up type of message.
There you go.
All right, we're in here deep in the Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 9, text 34ish.
35.
35. All right, rewinder. Do you want to read 34 again? Or are you good?
Well, I'm okay, but now we have we have the lamentation of Dhruva.
All right. Oh yes. All right. Let me read this. My internet is. Come on.
I don't
Come on.
understand what's going on.
Forwarding it to the next page, and it's going slow. Because of my state of complete foolishness and the paucity. That is a good word.
Paucity.
You know what that scarcity?
I don't know what that means.
It means scarcity.
Oh.
The paucity of pious activities. Although the Lord offered me his personal service, I wanted material name, fame, and prosperity.
Okay.
Word nerd. My case is just like that of a poor man who, when he satisfied a great emperor who wanted to give him anything he might ask, out of ignorance, asked only a few broken grains of husked rice. You get it? He could have asked for anything, and he asked for husked rice.
A few grains.
Because of the state of complete foolishness and paucity of pious activities, he's just feeling what foolish choices. And bad karma. No, it wasn't pious enough to ask for something good.
I think the lack of piety has to do with, therefore my mind is all confused, right? Like if we live a pious life, we get more lucid thought. But when you're not living a pious life, then you're confused all the time. So he's saying, I couldn't even understand, what was valuable, what wasn't valuable.
All right.
Now we go back to sage level 3.
Oh, sage level 3. Maitreya said, Vidura, persons like you who are pure devotees of the lotus feet of Mukunda, are always attached to the honey of his lotus feet, are always satisfied in serving at the lotus feet of the Lord, are always satisfied in serving at the lotus feet of the Lord. In any condition of life, such persons remain satisfied, and thus they never ask the Lord for material prosperity.
That's central message of the Bhagavatam.
It is, and it's a very beautiful, poetic, what do you call that, Mara? The honey of his lotus feet, poetic device.
Yeah, actually, it's actually a little poetic license, because I think actually it's the dust is the real word there.
Uh-huh.
Not
honey?
Yeah, the Rajo Jusas. The
Rajo Jusa. Persons who are eager to taste the dust.
The dust.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
The editor threw in honey. Okay. Continuing on.
No, hold. There's some. Let's just look at the end of this commentary here. Prabhupada says, one has to discharge their devotional duties without being disturbed by the coming and going of material circumstances. All right? Like I got a duty to do. Things may be pleasant. They may be unpleasant. I remain even-minded either way. I carry out my duty. This desirelessness for material prosperity is called nishkama.
Nishkama.
Kama means desire. Nishkama means free from material desire. And Prabhupada's going to clarify that. He says, one should not mistakenly think that nishkama means giving up all desires. That is impossible. A living entity is eternally existent, and they cannot give up desire. A living entity must have desires. That is the symptom of life. It's really all we got. Right?
It's all we got. All we got. All we are is a desire.
Yeah.
What are you desiring? That's the question.
Yeah.
It's okay to have desires. That's why it always comes back to a Shelter song. The very first Shelter record was called Mara. You have no clue. You're such a hardcore civilian. It was called Perfection of Desire. Perfection of Desire. So what is even Kaustubha knew that.
I know that.
And that is it. We can't suffocate our desires and think, now I'm free of desire. That's not our philosophy. Our philosophy is you're going to have desire. It's what the soul inherently does. But what are we desiring? Am I desiring things that are going to fulfill me, or ruin me, or liberate me? We refine our desires in bhakti.
So he goes on.
So much sense. It's such a simple philosophy, isn't it?
It does. He says a living entity must have desires. That is the symptom of life. When there is and so imagine how frustrating it must be to try to rid yourself of all desire. When there is a recommendation to become desireless, like in others, when we read these books and it mentions nishkama, becoming free of desire. So when there is a recommendation to become desireless, it is to be understood that this means that we should not desire anything for our sense gratification. For a devotee, this state of mind nispriha is the right position. Now, this is interesting, right? He says, actually, every one of us, think about this. Okay, you ready, Raghunath?
Ready.
So he's saying that we should operate from that nishkama platform. Like, in other words, I'm not desiring anything external to satisfy my senses for my happiness. I'm doing my duty in life, right? So he says, actually, every one of us already has an arrangement for our standard of material comforts. Like, in other words, the comforts that I'm meant to get in life, it's already laid out. It's going to come to me one way or another, right? A devotee should always remain satisfied with the standard of comforts offered by the Lord, as stated in Ishopanishad. Tena tyaktena bunjitaha. This saves time for executing Krishna consciousness, for executing bhakti. This is the way a yogi thinks, right?
Yeah.
Keep it simple.
Yep. Anyway, I had some realization. Let's just go.
Let's hear. No. I want to hear your realization.
I was just having a. Yeah, let's just go on. Let's go on.
Well, there's many places we could go with this, Raghunath. Why are you in a state of mind that's frustrated right now? Let us discuss this.
I got a lot going on.
No, but Prabhupada, he directed our attention towards the Ishopanishad.
Yeah.
Right? Which is a fascinating little book.
You know, I think people who act something like parenting. You know, I had a great appreciation for Laghima Siddhi and Jai Subhadra. They came on
successful parents, right?
Successful parents. You know, they are their backstory. They listen to the show. There are others out there. And they were like that next generation after me that got into bhakti. So, you know, Shelter was a band, and they were sort of from that community, that music scene.
We
and
came
then
in the late 80s, they came in the mid 90s, like that, right?
Yeah, they came in the mid 90s, got very serious. As a matter of fact, Jai Subhadra reminded me that, because these are people I met, and I sort of knew them a little bit, and I used to, you know, share Krishna consciousness with them. And then then they got married to some other hardcore guys that were devotees. Never really saw them after that, except a few times within the last 20 years or 25 years. And they signed up for pilgrimage, and they came on pilgrimage. And you know, they've just been doing time as parents. And any parent knows what I'm talking about, doing time. It's like, you're just doing time. And when they're little babies, you're doing time. And they get a little older, you're doing time. And they go into school, you're doing time. And you know, and you're dealing with your husband, and you're dealing with life, and you're dealing with your career, and you're dealing with your home, and you're dealing with sickness, and you're dealing with health. And it's just one of these things. Being in the confines of that family life is like you're doing time. And the material world is chopping off all your personal desires sometimes, just being in that ashram of the griha. And it is truthfully, it's a type of liberation, because you're doing it for others. You're not doing it for you. You're doing it for others. And it's a massive sacrifice when you raise a little baby and watch that baby go through all the stages of life.
And they've all had at least 3 kids, right?
Yeah,
Jai Subhadra has 3 sons.
Jai Subhadra and Govardhan have 3, and they've got, and Laghima and Kalpa have like 5 kids.
I think they've been adopted, right?
Yeah, and so it's like it's a lot of work, and the fact is, you're getting and you're doing it in service and in sacrifice. It's not about you anymore, and so it's not like they're living in ashram, so to speak, or living in the temple, but they're all like spiritually focused parents. And to really see them and just sort of hang out with them and hike around the Himalayas with them, I just had a great appreciation. Like, these guys are just doing time, and you could see their spiritual taste is very high, you know, and all that is, you call it sacrifice. I mean, it's the joy of family. I get it, but it's a sacrifice as well. A lot of people can't live their personal desires sometimes. Once they get kids, they get caught into that. It becomes sort of like they get trapped. But you see, actually, their sincerity. They can have now their taste for bhakti, I feel like, is even sweeter and sweeter and sweeter, and it's exciting. And they're all coming in. They're coming in October to on pilgrimage now. They were really inspired.
You know, yeah. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, when you're doing your duties of this world,
yeah,
you're not doing them for your personal desires anymore. You're doing them just to do your duty. And that's why this concept of duty and dharma is so important. Not because it's the highest thing, but it trains you to be selfless. And so, and you're doing it for the family and for God ultimately. And therefore it's purifying you. The whole life is set up to purify us. It's not, life isn't set up to give us fun, because fun, you'll get fun and you'll get misery. It's there to train us. It's there to train us, to assist us to evolve, to get us out of the me-centeredness of this, of my consciousness, which I was born with, and born foolish, dull, self-absorbed, and to get to me to this point where I see, I'm going to do my duty. I'm going to do my service. I'm going to give love, and then Krishna's just going to take us from there. And so it's very beautiful to witness people going through these phases of life.
See, I'm so glad that I stopped you from moving on, and you let all that out, Raghunath. That was great.
Probably.
No, it really was. And I think that example that you're sharing right now is so important. Because when we think of yogis and we think of spiritually advanced people, generally our mind tends to go to a renunciate, perhaps, or you know what I'm saying? We or just certain figures that are like big leaders, maybe, or famous in some way, or something like that. But really, this process is working on all levels, and I think like the two people that you mentioned, what you were saying, as you were saying, it reminded me of this story. I think I brought it up on the show before, but this book by Leo Tolstoy. It's like a short story called Father Sergius, which was about, I'll give a little spoiler warning right now, because I'll just share what the book, how it ends and everything too. But it's about this man in Russia back in, I guess it was somewhere around the turn of the century or something like that. And he became a priest. He became disgusted with materialistic society. He was kind of rising up in it. He became disgusted with it. He became a priest. And then when he entered into the priesthood, he saw within that, what do you call like the priests together, like they're within their
Fraternal.
Yeah, whatever.
Brotherhood.
Yeah.
Order. Fraternal order.
Yeah. Within their little ashram, their what do you call it? Not a convent, but a
Mara, you gotta butt in. This is Mara. This is where you're supposed to butt in.
Monastery
within on this, Mara.
Within their monastery. He just saw so much hypocrisy. And he became disgusted by that. He was disgusted by the hypocrisy in the material world. Then he became disgusted by the hypocrisy within the monastery. And so he requested...
Sounds like he's just disgusted.
No, he was deep. This was real. It was very sincere, And so he requested to be allowed to kind of like live the life of a hermit. And they kind of like reluctantly allowed him to do that. And so then he lived off in some kind of, secluded, holy place where he had like just like a tiny little hermitage. And he lived there, and he just started going deeper and deeper and deeper into his spiritual practices. And he actually began to become very deeply realized, and people began to see him as a saint, and he could answer their questions and so on. And then big part of the story is one day these two couples are traveling by like sled. I guess it was snowy, and they're on a sled. Like with being drawn by a horse.
Sleigh,
or reindeer.
Yeah.
I don't know. In any case, so there's two couples. Like one couple's together, and then there's a man and a woman that aren't exactly together. And the guy's trying to pick up the single girl, but they're talking. They go by this hermitage, and they say, "Oh, that is the hermitage of that great saint. He's like incredibly renounced and deeply realized, and so on." And somehow that woman, the single woman, said, "Oh yeah, really? Like I bet I could make him fall down. Like I bet I could make him break his vows."
Why do they always make the woman out to be one of these like?
Well, no,
right?
No. You're jumping. You see, Raghunath, you're not hearing the whole story out.
Okay.
All right. Hear it out.
The temptress.
Yes, she played the role of a temptress at first, right? So she says, "Let me out right now," and they're like, "Come on, man! It's nighttime. It's like freezing out. Like there's a storm and everything. It's like this is crazy." And she says, "Let me out." and she gets off the sled or the sleigh or whatever you call it.
What was she
And
thinking?
She was determined.
Get me out. I want to see this guy fall down. That was what she did.
Yeah, for whatever, I would have to go back and read it again exactly why she was in that state of mind and everything, but she was.
Okay.
And he's such a brilliant writer. It all plays out well. So then he starts like knocking on her window, or she's knocking on his window, like, help me, it's cold out here, and and he knew exactly what was going on. Like his thought was so clear, like she didn't get anything past him even for a millisecond, right?
Men are so weak.
Well, he wasn't weak. He knew what was going on. And so therefore he like ignored her. And she
ignored her? And she was freezing?
Would you hold on and let me tell you? Do you have to be skeptical about every detail in this without like hearing it out?
Forgive me.
Okay. So at first he doesn't respond. He's like, okay, this woman is obviously up to something, and I'm not playing this game. I'm not even set. He's got kind of that like strong brahmachari determination. Like, I'm not playing this game. I'm not even taking one step in that direction. And she's persistent. And at one point, like, he can hear like she steps into like this puddle of water. He knows like right at that area there's this puddle of water, and he hears that she steps in it. Now her feet are soaking wet, and she starts playing on him, like saying like, how you're supposed to be a holy man and compassion, and you're gonna leave me out here, and So finally he gives in. And it said like his little hermitage just had two tiny little rooms. He, without even looking at her, he lets her into the front room, and then he immediately goes into the tiny little back room. And then she's there, and she's taking off her stockings, and she's kind of like just being seductive, like I forget what she was saying, but she was like,
can you demonstrate that, Kaustubha?
I can't, but in some way, she was playing the whole thing off as being seductive, and she was starting to penetrate his determination. Ooh. And it got to be so intense. He realized what was going on. He realized that he was getting weaker. And so what he did to maintain his vows was he walked past her out the door, and he went to the chopping block, like he had an axe and some wood where he chopped wood.
Where are we going with this?
He put his thumb on the chopping block, he cut off his thumb, and then he walked back in like holding his hand. Yeah. And when he did that, she thought, oh my God, what have I done? I was just playing this game, but this man, his conviction to serve God is like so deep, that he would do that. She felt absolutely horrible. And it's described that she, from that point on, she became a nun, and she took the vows of a nun. And what happened with him was like his reputation spread. It only made him that much more famous as like a deep spiritualist and as a monk and as a renunciate. And more people were coming to him for advice, coming to him for blessings, and even coming to him for healing. Like he developed the mystic ability to heal others. And it just spread more and more. But that fame, that prestige, it began to eat away at his spiritual conviction. You understand?
Oh, what fame is?
In other words,
cutting off his thumb.
His fame as being as this saint.
Okay.
It was genuine.
All right, so this is part two of the story now. Well, I thought it was going to end with the thumb. You're saying this goes on.
It goes on, and so what happens is that he was making genuine, deep spiritual advancement, but now now pride set in. Like you begin to enjoy that fame, it confuses you, and he felt it, and he recognized, what this is eating away at the sincerity that I had. I was feeling like wholly devoted to God, and now I'm more, it's beginning to make me wallow in my own glorification of myself and so on. And he could feel his determination, his spiritual focus weakening. And it's described that one day, like, some woman brought her daughter to him for healing, and she was like an autistic girl, and not even like fully, capable of communicating and everything like that, handicapped in some way like that, and then the mother left the girl alone with him in his hermitage, And the girl kind of like took his hand and put it on her breast. And then he fell down with that girl. He broke his vows with that girl, which was interesting, right? Because like even this beautiful seductress, when he was strong, you know, she failed. But when he was weak, it was just like he was just entirely weak. And from that moment afterward, he felt such a sense of remorse. And then he felt like, you know, my whole thing is just a show. Everyone thinks I'm a saint and they're all coming to me, but I'm not. And then he just started to wander. He gave up his, like, being the dress of a monk and all that and began to wander. And where the book ends is he's just a wanderer now. But now, like all
I'm going to
of
read this book.
It's
I'm
so
going to read
good.
this book, Kaustubha. You did it. You sold the book to me.
Well, I'm going to spoil the
Father
end.
Sergius.
Sergius.
By Leo
Sergius.
Tolstoy.
Sergius.
Sergius.
And so then now he's wandering, and all of the external trappings of being respected. He's a nobody now, right? You know, he's got knowledge and, you know, and all of his prayers and all of his philosophy as a Christian monk and all that. He's got all that still, but he's got zero prestige. He's got zero position. So everything artificial has been,
And he's got no thumb.
got no thumb.
Doesn't help things.
But everything artificial out of his spiritual practice has been removed.
Right.
And so now he wanders into this town. You know, he's wandering from town to town now. And he wanders into this town, and he's just a beggar. And he knocks on one door, and he recognizes the person that answers the door was like a cousin of his, or like a second cousin of his, or something like this, a woman who back in his previous life, you know, like back when he was a materialist and everything, he looked at this woman as just being like pitiful, like having nothing, not particularly intelligent, not particularly attractive, not particularly wealthy, she's just like, you know, almost like pathetic. He thought of her like that. And she invites him in with like total kindness and generosity, and says, well, you know, oh, you're a wandering person. Let us serve you in any way that we don't have much, but whatever we can do for you, let us, you know. He comes in, he's sitting in that home, and he's saying, I know this woman. She doesn't recognize me. And he's watching her life, her simple life, which is a life of raising children and, you know, struggling financially, raising children, dealing with all of the minutia of family life. But he's looking at her life, and he's recognizing in her life a genuine selflessness and a genuine piety and a genuine spirituality in that, you know.
I see where you're going with this whole story now.
Yeah, now I'm tying it all back. Okay.
I see.
Yeah, I'm tying it all back. So in other words,
I thought it was just a crazy thumbless squirrel. But
no. I'm tying it right
quite
back
a
in.
genius.
So I'm not, but the book is brilliant. So in other words, he was rising up in material life, but that was empty. So he turned to spirituality, but even there, like the externals of spirituality in the monastery were there, but it was empty of genuine spirituality. And then in his own life, as a hermit, you know, he did get some realization, but he lost it too. And it's not like being a successful materialist is not what it's about. Being a monk is not what it's about. Being a hermit, you know, even that wasn't what it's all about. It has nothing to do with the externals. And he saw the strongest example of deep spirituality in this woman, who was someone that he pitied, you know. So I guess what I'm saying is that you take the lives of the women that you mentioned, right? In one sense, like you said, I haven't even seen them in 20 years practically, right? And they've been raising kids and you know, being good wives and being good mothers and supporting their families and doing all that they do. But all along, they've been doing that with good instruction from Guru, right?
Yeah, they feel very connected to their gurus and to the teaching, and very loyal within their heart.
They've all have this background with Vrindavan. You know, like when they were younger, they were brought to Vrindavan, to that holy place, and given some scars of Vrindavan, given experiences there that they never forget, never let go of, right? So alongside with there being, you know, and you mentioned, you know, that the duty of motherhood or of parenting, you know, it draws a selflessness out of one. You know, like I like to say, duty is the first step of mastering the mind. Right? It's where the mind tells us one thing, and we say, I'm not going to do what my mind wants me to just do this right now and be irresponsible. I'm going to be responsible. That's what a yogi does, self-discipline like that. So in one sense, all those duties, when you see them all in relation, when you connect them all to your service of God, my children, I'm raising them with good values, and not just good material values, but spiritual values. I'm raising them to be devoted. I'm raising them to develop prema in their own life. So everything that I do, from supporting them financially to, putting a roof over their head, to cooking their meals and feeding them and instructing them, and it all becomes service. It all becomes part of one's practice. They've been doing that sincerely all these years. And then 20 years pass, and you have people with deep realizations, deep spiritual realizations. And none of it's wasted. It's all tied in.
Yes. Tolstoy was an interesting character.
Yes, he was. He was.
Yeah. Am I frozen?
No.
I've got a weak connection. Yeah, he was interesting. He was an aristocrat. Not an aristocat. He was an aristocrat.
The Aristocats.
And he was a deep spiritualist. He became a vegetarian.
Yeah.
And in Russia, and he ended up living with his servants, because all the servants, all the people on his estates were all the poor were vegetarians. So he started eating with them. He wouldn't eat in his household any longer, and he became like a guru of sorts.
Yeah. He was going back and forth with Gandhi too. They were like writing letters back and forth. He was reading Bhagavad Gita. Oh yeah, no question about it. Yeah.
All right. Well, it's 6:55. Mara, you got some good takeaways, some little jewels, little gems we can put in our little cachet, in our treasure chest for the day.
Because we don't want us to be empty-handed at the end, right?
Right.
We don't want to be empty-handed. We want to pull out some jewels.
What kind of realization will we have at our time of death?
That's a question.
Yeah. Whatever happened, it got us to Bhakti.
Whatever happened. Whatever
happened in your life, it got you to Bhakti.
Yeah.
You're talking about that
whatever
Like
happened
even
to
the bad
you,
things.
it got you to Bhakti.
It's
Got you
valuable
Bhakti.
for that reason.
Right.
Okay, there we go.
The past is always perfect. It's just how we perceive it.
There, yeah. Raghunath's not buying that, but okay.
Thank God for Bhakti.
How about that one?
Thank God for
That's a
Bhakti.
good one. That's
I
a
say
mug.
that. I say that a lot.
Yeah. All we are is a desire.
All we are is a desire. Sounds
Dharma-
like a song.
Maybe all we got.
All right.
All we got is a desire.
Dharma trains you in selflessness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Our whole life is set up to purify us and help us evolve.
Okay.
How about Wisdom of the Sages? A sobering show with some entertainment mixed in.
Do you think that's a takeaway, Prabhu?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a takeaway, but it's our new subtitle. A sobering show. Okay.
Mara? Is it sobering, Raghunath? Okay.
Sincere service leads us to God. And
Yes,
a summary of the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Come on.
That's the summary. Come on.
That's
what
the
it's
summary. That's the cliff
But
notes.
wasn't
Come on.
there was something that Raghunath said, and I said, Mara, that's a takeaway. Did we get that one?
Mary,
I thought I got it, but
You were spacing out at the time, I think, and you didn't get it. You said something really profound. I forget what it was now. We're going to have to go back and find it.
Just looking at her private school yearbook. Those were the days. Those were the days, captain of the girls' field hockey team. Oh,
All that prestige.
I could have it back. Did you get any class?
Were you really the
superlatives,
captain?
Mara?
I don't know if we did class
Co-captain.
superlatives. I was a captain of the field hockey team.
That's
Tell Kaustubha the
powerful
superlative
position.
you got.
I don't think
what?
Or
you
I'll
didn't-
tell him.
What
What
is
happened?
it?
Anyway, we'll save it for tomorrow.
What happened?
Did you get any class superlatives, Kaustubha?
Did I
High
get
school?
what?
Class superlatives. Come on.
Was that like a yearbook thing or something?
Yeah, like the.
I was so removed from my high school class. It was like I was like, I told you, they put me out in this little trailer behind the school, and like I There was no picture of me in the yearbook. There was like nothing, you know. Like,
You get the may cause trouble to others. Did you dress all punk back then?
yeah,
like
it was
your
shocking.
school?
It was like absolutely shocking. I would walk down the hallways and everyone's like, he's completely lost it.
Yeah. Back then, you dressed crazy. They thought you lost it. Now everybody dresses crazy. Everybody's got purple hair now. You had purple hair back
Everybody.
then, they were gonna like lock you up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got class comic.
You got what? What? Raghunath?
Class
You got
comic.
class comic.
You got class comic. I see. Yeah, that makes
Class
sense.
comic. I got biggest freak also.
Not bad.
Not big. And I got done the class for the most.
Say again.
Not done the most for the class, done the class for the most.
Done the class for the most. I don't understand it.
It's just sort of like
You kind of like you were there,
Like a-
sort of like that.
sort of like a wise guy. I don't know.
Okay.